Actually, sir, I'm here at my own request. Why? I've always wanted to see the frontier. You want to see the frontier? Yes, sir. Dances with Wolves won 7 Oscars and made Kevin Costner a Hollywood legend forever. But the film is packed with embarrassing mistakes that somehow fooled critics and audiences for decades. Kevin Costner's rifle didn't exist in 1865. The Lakota dialogue was so wrong that native speakers couldn't stop laughing. Male warriors sounded like women speaking. Even the location was hundreds of miles off. These weren't small errors. They were massive blunders that reveal how Hollywood fakes history. The truth will shock you. Michael Blake had hit rock bottom in 1986. He was broke, homeless, and living in his car. His dream of being a screenwriter seemed over. He had written more than a dozen scripts, but none were made into films. Hungry and desperate, he went to Kevin Costner, his old friend from USC. Blake shared a story idea about a disillusioned Civil War soldier who finds himself living among the Lakota Sioux. He was so poor he often slept on friends' couches and took food from their fridges. But his passion for Native American history kept him going. Costner, who had worked with Blake on Stacy's Nights, was not impressed at first. He found Blake's pitches frustrating, and Hollywood executives usually ended up arguing with Blake, too. But the story Blake had in mind would change both their lives forever. Instead of saying yes to the screenplay, Costner surprised Blake. He told him to write the story as a novel first. Blake had never written a book. He was barely surviving, earning $335 an hour washing dishes in Arizona. But Costner believed in the idea enough to help. He sent Blake a sleeping bag and a stove so he could focus on writing. Blake spent 2 years working on the novel, often writing in his car. More than 30 publishers rejected it, but finally, Fawcett Books accepted it and gave him a $6,500 advance. Costner had already bought the film rights before the book even came out. He was ready to take a huge risk. Costner and his partner Jim Wilson went to every major studio. No one wanted to make the film. The Memory of Heaven's Gate, a 1980 Western that flopped, haunted Hollywood. Studios called their project Kevin's Gate as a joke. They didn't want to fund a $15 million Western with long dialogue in Lakota. But Costner was determined. When the budget ran over, he put in $3 million of his own money. If the film failed, it could have destroyed his career and his finances. Blake had always pictured the story as a film with Costner as the star and director. The novel was written like a movie with vivid scenes and dialogue. Costner read it in one sitting. He knew he had to direct it. Other directors wanted to cut parts of the story, like the Civil War scenes or stands with a fist's character. Costner refused. He wanted to show Native Americans with dignity, using their real language and from their own point of view. He didn't care that he wasn't as skilled as other directors. He cared that nothing important would be left out. Costner and Wilson took the project to 17 studios. All said no. They thought no one wanted to see a 3-hour Western with subtitles. The project seemed doomed. But at the last minute, Orion Pictures agreed to help. They were nearly bankrupt themselves. They gave $10 million and let Costner have full creative control, including the final cut. That gamble changed everything. The film made over $424 million worldwide. It saved Orion from collapse, at least for a while. It also brought the Western back to life. Hollywood had never made a Western like this. Costner refused to cut the runtime even though studios begged him to. He believed every scene mattered. The film's length became part of its power, drawing audiences into the world of the Lakota. Blake had spent months living with Lakota families to get the details right. He learned from elders, took part in ceremonies, and watched daily life. About 25% of the film's dialogue was in Lakota. Costner hired Doris Leader, Charge, a Lakota professor, to guide the translations. She also helped the actors learn their lines. The language added depth and respect that Hollywood had never shown before. Costner faced push back when he cast himself as the lead. Studios wanted a big star like Tom Cruise or Mel Gibson, but Costner believed the story needed his personal connection. That choice paid off, earning him Best Director and Best Picture Oscars. Mary McDonald, after more than 200 auditions for Stands with a Fist, won the part. She learned Lakota for the role and was later adopted by a Sioux family in honor of her work. Graham Greene, unknown outside Canada, played Kicking Bird and earned an Oscar nomination. Rodney Grant joined the cast at the last minute as wind in his hair, bringing real-life experience that showed on screen. Costner insisted on casting Native actors in Native roles. This was almost unheard of in 1990. It meant finding talent from reservations and open calls, many of whom had never acted in a film before. But it worked. The film set a new standard for authenticity. The Lakota language requirement alone ruled out many actors. The production invested heavily in coaching. Doris Leader Charg's careful work with the language preserved its dignity. She even appeared in the film herself as Pretty Shield. On November 9, 1990, Dances with Wolves opened in just 14 theaters across the United States. The film had cost $22 million to make, and Kevin Costner, in his first attempt at directing, had risked his own reputation on it. Industry insiders braced for disaster. A 3-hour Western full of subtitles and unknown Native American actors seemed doomed. But something remarkable happened in that tiny opening weekend. It pulled in $598,250. That meant it averaged $42,732.